Today I want to talk about the two different sides of love. Love is split into two different forms that it takes depending on how the person views you. There is a love of value. That is, they love you for who you are now, what you represent now, or the value that you offer them now. And then there is the love of potential. This is a person who will love you because they see what can be in you. They see who you could become. They see the value that you could eventually offer them. True love is both. True love is both. And it's not that someone who only loves you in one way doesn't love you truly. That's not what that means. What it means is different types of love will usually have more of one than the other. So take your mother. Your mother loves you just the way you are, and she probably always will, provided you don't, become a fucking monster. Your father typically will love you more for the man you could become, because he can see in you all of the potential that comes with being a young man, a growing man. Together, that is true parental love. It's why having both is so important. It's why having both parents is so crucial, and why you all so often see the negative downsides of having one and not the other. You can actually see the effects of it in the people who grew up with one and not the other. People who grew up with only a mother tend to believe they're better than they are as they are. They tend to have that imagination that they don't need to change, that they don't need to grow, because their mother, gave them all that love of who they were as they grew up. Now, the opposite of that is the father. People who grow up with a mother are often more depressive and typically have issues of self-worth. This is because, they grew up without that motherly presence telling them they had inherent value. They always feel like they're not living up to expectations, because that's all there is the love of the expectation, what you could be. Now, that's not to disparage fathers, that's not to disparage mothers. They do the best they can, obviously. But it's important to note the differences so that you can really start to see why it's so important that you have both. And this doesn't specifically have to come from your mother or your father. It can come from father figure, mother figure, things like that. It can be supplemented by other people. Let's talk about what that looks like in a partner. A partner should have both. They should provide both. The most common thing you'll see nowadays is that they only provide the love of who you are currently. And you see that a lot with women especially, because that's their natural state. They fall for you the way you are. And typically when they fall for you the way you are, what they're falling in love with is not, everything currently about you. It's not always, your current weight or your current income. They fall in love with aspects of that. They fall in love with the fact that you have the right kind of mindset to be someone who can provide. They fall in love with the kind of mindset that sticks with a diet. They fall in love with the kind of guy, not who is perfect the way he is, but already has the right mindset. And that's where that love of who you are currently comes in. Not so much in the things that already exist, but in how you interact with the world. You have to already be interacting with the world in a good way. For men, that's this dynamic doesn't play into account as much. What you'll tend to see with men who grew up without a mother is just that they are players. They already feel like they deserve that woman. They don't feel like they will take offense to the idea that they need to earn more money or lose weight or put on muscle to deserve that 10 out of 10. And so we see that most commonly, those two especially, because fatherlessness is, it is an epidemic in our current society. We see it every day. We hear about it all the time. Honestly, we hear about it less than we should. But that's because there are some people who, similar to when you grow up without a mother, grow up without a father rather, don't want to accept the fact that they could be at fault for not being at the best that they could be. Whereas that masculine energy, it tells you that you could be more, that you should always strive to be more, that there is more to you than what you are now, and that's a good thing. That you can always reach a higher potential is incredible. It's a good thing. It's very good. But it still needs to be counterbalanced with the feminine energy of you're doing good. You are already a good person. You are already better than you were before. And that is good. So it's kind of a mix of celebrating accomplishment and celebrating potential. Kind of like a potential energy versus kinetic energy type of thing. But yeah, it's important to know the difference, because there's a lot of people who think that growing up without a father, yeah, they can tell it's probably not good for them, but they don't really see why. They don't see the exact reasons portrayed out in real life. So I wanted to talk about the effects that has, and precisely why it is that the love of potential that a father provides is so important. That being said, peace.